When we begin a business or join a team at a business, we can never quite imagine the adventures that we'll have the opportunity to go on. Nor can we imagine all the hidden gems we will learn about and grow with along the way. As we encounter our self-care and well-being, it is up to us to determine how we're going to approach our responsibilities and embody well-being in our thoughts, actions, and beliefs. My guest today is Natalie Wurz, co-owner of Stonefield Cellars Winery and the host of a very special event on April 12th with Marathon Jam. Now hosting special events is not quite unique in the winery. In fact, they host many different kinds of events throughout the year, and many of them involve music and well-being. Today, Natalie is sharing more about the winery, and beyond the amazing wine products that they produce, she's also going to be talking about the land, their special settings, the way they've created their different spots that people can gather, and the community building aspect of their business. Then we're going to dive a little bit more into the Marathon Jam, and this event is bringing music and movement together to support PTSD, mental health, first responders, and veterans. All right, Natalie, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
What have you got in your teacup today?
Well, I'm drinking out of one of my favorite cups, and I'm drinking Fit as a Fiddle, and that's very personal to me, and that I will read the description that's on this lovely packet of tea, and it says, "Heart-centered living flourishes when opening to your true passions in life." And that is very, pun intended, fitting for me. Fit as a fiddle. I am a fiddle player. I play other instruments. The fiddle is what I'm least proficient at and what I work hard to get better at. And I think that's just very apropos for, at any point in life. It's never too late to learn an instrument or learn a new instrument. And I've been trying to get better at the fiddle for years, and it's very challenging, but that's okay. I work hard at it and enjoy it. And I know I won't be, a master at it. But speaking of master, I have to say that this is the Natalie MacMaster set. Natalie MacMaster, who is a wonderful fiddle player from your area. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big fan of hers, and she was instrumental, another pun, in putting together this blend. So I just thought that was very appropriate for me to drink this morning, and it's delicious.
Awesome. Good, good. So for those people listening, the Fit as a Fiddle tea is a orange pico, and is trying to get as close to what everybody drinks here, which is usually traditional orange pico, but we add a little bit of Cape Breton to it. So it does have a few other ingredients plus rose petals. And that's just bringing in the love and the passion for music is what was inspiring by that piece. And you have in your hands some rose petals that come from Cape Breton Island. So yeah,
nice.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, and I have one of the teas that we're bringing down for the Marathon Jam, which is the Maple Chai Mellow Tea, which is designed for musicians also. So I'm happy to be highlighting that today. For those people listening, I'm just going to hold up the package. It has a staff with some musical notes on it, but it also has the maples, the maple leaves. So I'm just going to hold it up in case we can get it past the beautiful shine from the sun. And this one is not a black tea. This one is a rooibos. And it says, "The music of love sweetly nudges our spirit forward with optimism and grace." And I thought this was going to be perfect for the atmosphere and the opportunity that the Marathon Jam is going to be providing musicians, as well as all those people who benefit from being involved with the music or listening to the music or toe tapping with it. So beautiful. I want to share two things about this because I want to highlight two of the ingredients. And I do this because when we get started, we've already offered two intentions. So as you're listening to the podcast, we want you to get a healing session. So think about what you would like in life a little bit more of, and thinking about those two intentions that we offered to you, I'm now going to provide you with two ingredients to think about. So maple syrup is about life and renewal, as well as the sweetness of being alive. And our connection to nature comes through maple as we consider how our life and vitality is similar to the trees, to the flowing of the sap in the spring, which is just getting started here. All the tapping is just starting to go on. It takes 10 gallons of sap, or one tap on a tree, so that's one spout, to produce 1 gallon of maple syrup. It is such an intense process to be able to get that final nectar. And in Canada, that would be less than a liter of syrup would be coming from one tree. Grapes are very much like that, and we're talking about the winery today. And Natalie, I know you're going to be sharing a little bit more about how much grape is required to put into that one wine bottle. So we'll dive into that in a little bit. As we go from the maple syrup part, we're going to go into the second ingredient, which is rooibos. And redbush rooibos is a leaf on a bush, but it comes from South Africa. And it is about transforming energy from sunlight into all of the nutrients that we have. It's supportive to calming the system, helping the heart. It's an ally for energizing the chakra system. So that's how we receive energy, our information from outside our body to inside. And together, these two ingredients, the maple syrup and the rooibos, speak to the music that runs through our veins and when we relax and enjoy the fruits of living. The music of love sweetly nudges our spirit forward with optimism and grace. So you're listening to the podcast. We welcome you to start to feel how that everything's going to start to calm, enjoy the conversation, and know that when you're finished, you have given yourself a little bit extra today. All right, I would like to do a little cheers, Natalie, because you and I are going to meet in just a few weeks. And I brought my wine glass today. That's what I've got my tea in. So, and this one is actually on the symbol on the front for those listening. There's a horse with a Celtic knot behind it, which would have been the lasso. And it says Ceilidh by the Bow, which is an event we used to run with full Scottish dinner and all the music and dance and everything. So that's what's in my wine glass today. All right, cheers.
Cheers.
And for those that can see, you can see the color of the tea, and it's so lovely. As the tea cools, your hand goes up underneath the wine glass, and then you start to hold the color. So there's a nice connection to that. And this being an orange yellow, we're looking at, this is from the solar plexus to the solar plexus, sacral chakras. There we go. 2 lower chakras, which is where we really nurture ourselves and take care. So that color is very important. All right, Natalie, let's dive in now that we've got all of that underway. Can you share a little bit about the process of making wine? Because it's very much like that maple syrup, and what it means for you to be in the winery doing what you're doing.
Well, that's a loaded question. I can start with where winemaking starts, which is really in the vineyard. And you can make wine with any fruit, with anything really. There's been wine made out of tomatoes. Now, I don't know that I would want to drink that, but there's so many different varietals of grapes. You know, there's grapes that are grown all over the world. Our climate here in North Carolina is somewhat limited in what types of grapes that we can grow well here. When we first started growing grapes, we had around 19 different varieties trying to find what would grow well on our site. And I will tell you that Robert, who is our winemaker, his forte was making wine, not necessarily viticulture. And the property that we have, we only had about 1.5 acres of space to work with for vineyard. So it was really more of an experimental vineyard to see what would grow well. for us to experiment with about what kind of fruit we can grow in North Carolina, what kind of wine we can make from the fruit that we grow in North Carolina. And we really narrowed it down to just a few that did well. We contracted with other growers locally that could provide us with more, quantity of grapes to make wine. So we really got most of our grapes from local contract growers. Over the years, we found that a lot of those growers did not keep their vineyards going. The growers would sell out, and we really narrowed it down just a few growers. And then we found that there were varieties that we wanted to make wine with that we could not grow in North Carolina. So we started sourcing grapes from other areas, for example, California or even Chile. For certain times of the year that grapes were unavailable, we would sell out of wines and we would have to go to another source to be able to replenish and make more wine. So when you're running a small business in an area that is still fairly new in grape growing, you have to have that flexibility and you have to listen to the market and what people want. And with our winemaker coming from California, we felt very comfortable in getting fruit from California to supplement the grapes that we were receiving, locally in North Carolina. So our palette of wines offerings over the years has changed. However, we have almost over 20 wines. So we're not only making wine with grapes, but we also make fruit wines that we co-ferment with grapes. So we have a lot of fruit wine offerings as well. We try to have something for everyone. We have dry reds, dry whites, and then sweet wines. So a little bit of something for everyone. So I know with your business of tea, blending is a big part of creating different flavor profiles. And we do the same thing with our wines in that we do have single varietals, for example, a Cabernet Sauvignon or a Chardonnay or a Pinot Gris. We have a Sauvignon Blanc. We've had Merlot. We've had Zinfandel. These are some varietals that a lot of folks are familiar with, but we also blend with a lot of grapes that you may not be familiar with. And so we can enhance a flavor profile of a wine by blending with other wines that we would make the wine, or we would even co-ferment, like what we're doing with our fruit wines, to come up with different flavor profiles. So you might have, your preference might be fruit forward with a dry finish. And we have a wine for that. You might like a more oaky, greater tannin wine, bolder flavors, earthier flavors. Well, we have a wine for that. So there's not just the science of winemaking, there's the art of winemaking, just in the art of producing a wonderful tea blend. And we listen to the folks that come in and they tell us what they like. We're not just making wine for ourselves, we're making wine for the people that come and visit us. And so we're very open to making new wines. But we do have a lot of standard blends in addition to our single varietal wines that folks come and they know and they're their favorites, and we carry those wines and make those wines year from year. Another sort of interesting thing, and you'll have to tell me, Michelle, if this is true with tea, vintages are very important also, as well as is your source. That even though you may have a single varietal from year to year, from vintage to vintage, it may be a little bit different. So again, it's one of those challenges and exciting aspects of winemaking, is that every year it's a little bit different. And so that's what just keeps us enthusiastic and excited when we have a new vintage, to encourage people to come in and try our new vintages, because it might be just a little bit different. It may still have the same overall flavor profile, but it's fun to do a vertical tasting when you're trying different vintages and comparing them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's the same growing the herbs, because each season is different.
Mm-hmm.
and different herbs will be hardier at different times. And my Rose of Sharon bush that used to give us just a few blooms, they used to fall off. It actually now is full of blooms. But I think it just knows that we're harvesting for tea. It's decided it wants to come along for the ride because I can harvest 6, 8 times, and that's like a full bucket each time. It's
I didn't
just
know you can make
amazing.
tea with Rose of Sharon blossoms.
Yeah,
I, I
yeah.
have
It's
Rose
a
of Sharon on the
hibiscus.
winery. Yes, I
Yeah,
have Rose of Sharon on the winery.
yeah, and it's very light. It's papery, um, which is completely different than if we were to use hibiscus that we would bring in. A very
Okay.
different um, plant, but also different flavorings that comes out of that. So yeah, same as you. You're always playing with what's going to come out, and you try to keep it as close as you can. But
Mhm.
it's nature. Yeah, beautiful. Can you share a little bit of how many grapes does it take to make one bottle of wine? Because there's a lot.
Right, right around 600, 600 grapes.
Wow. Yeah. And on a bunch of grape, like I don't know what you call that. When you're picking, there'd be maybe what, 30, 40 grapes in a bunch?
No, there's more than that. There's probably well, it depends on the bunch because every grape varietal is different. Some
Okay.
grapes have fewer grapes and they're looser. Others are very tight clustered and small. So there's no one answer for that. It depends on the variety of grapes, really.
And I just like to point out for people, because it's so easy for us to go to the store and make a purchase and not realize how much effort nature put in for us to even be able to have the product in the first place, but then how much processing is required just to be able to get it to the point where it's going to be consumable. And then somebody pops open that bottle of wine, down it goes, and it's all that effort. It's the same with the tea. It's like, well, it's just the tea that sits here over on the side and I just drink it. But if you stop to really take the time with it and think about how many people touched all the way through the processing, how much time did it take for nature? And in your case, the vines can take years till you get to a really good harvest. And like you said too, trial and error to get the right vine that's going to work on the land that you have. So it's such an incredible process. So as people are listening, thinking about where in your life do you kind of rush through the flavors and rush through the smells, and to be able to think about how you can embody or really appreciate the true quality of what nature is providing. Yeah. All
So
right.
just to give you an idea, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, but the sort of the life cycle of wine is it does, you're right, it takes about 3 years to really start getting a good yield from a vine. And of course it improves over time. But when it starts in the vineyard and how you manage the vines themselves. We just finished pruning our vineyard. We do that in late February, early March. So you have to prune the vine in a certain way for optimum growth and health of the vine. You have to pay attention to the weather, which is, of course, always changing, as to when you prune. And if you have bud break, which usually happens in our area, it can happen anywhere from mid-March to late March. You don't want a late freeze because that can kill those early buds. And then certainly once the vine starts growing and they're setting the fruit, you don't want a late frost because it'll kill and inhibit the actual fruit development. So that starts early on. So late frosts are something we don't want. I don't think we're gonna have that Of course, April 15th in our area is usually the time when you say, well, it's safe. We're not going to have any late frosts. So we're still early on right now, but we did get the vines pruned. So that's where it starts is vine management. And then we have a lot of pests. We have a lot of funguses and pests that you have to manage to keep the vines healthy so that as those grape clusters are growing, they're not eaten by bugs or destroyed by funguses. You have to manage the canopy to make sure that as it's growing, you don't have too much vigor or too many leaves that won't enable veraison, which is the actual ripening of the fruit when it's developing a lot of those sugars prior to harvest. And then, of course, there's harvest. A lot of ways that you want to control the quality of that fruit as you're bringing it in. You have to sort it. You're not wanting to put, twigs and extra dead leaves and things that should not go into the grapes as you're crushing the grapes. So you crush the grapes, then you ferment the juice. There's a lot of things that go on in the actual early winemaking process. Then you can age the wine. You can either bottle it right afterwards. A lot of the white wines or sweet wines were not aging in oak barrels. But for those of you that are watching this as a video, you can see the barrels behind me.
Mhm.
We do age our wines in barrels. And then the management of that wine, the continuous tasting of that wine to make sure it's good. We have to rack the wine, moving it from one barrel to another as it's aging. This can take years to do. So there's so much from the time that you're managing the vine and producing that wine, depending on the type of wine it is, there's a lot of interaction with that wine. And especially if it's a blend, we'll do blending trials. So we'll have folks that have very discerning palates get involved in helping us come up with the exact blend. And that's even before bottling. And then, of course, there's the bottling part of it. And we have anywhere from 14 to 16 people from the community, and two of those include Robert and I. We're very hands-on that are involved in the bottling process. We set up a bottling line right in our barrel room. It's all, pieces and parts we put together, and then it's not a truck that comes in, or we don't have a permanent large scale and, industrial permanent bottling line with, it's all mechanized and it never gets touched by humans. No, there are 14 people, 14 to 16, including Robert and I, that are from washing the bottle to then filling it with the wine to then another person puts the cork in, another person wipes the bottle down, then they move it down, put a capsule on, and then it moves to the capsule person who then heat shrinks the capsule. Then it goes to other people who dry it before it gets labeled. I put the label on, somebody takes it and puts it in the box, another person tapes the box and puts it on the pallet, and it's that wine has been handled by so many people in very loving, happy hands. These are volunteers. These are people that come from our community, they start as a customer, they fall in love with our wines. They say, I want to help. I want to do this. I want to be involved in this. And they come time and time again. So we have a lot of loyal volunteers over the years that have been a part of bringing this wonderful wine to our community. And for me, that's what it's all about. When Robert and I started this business almost 20 years ago, and he was a winemaker from by education, and he got his PhD from UC Davis in California. And he had a passion for making wine. He was born in Napa, grew up in just outside of Calistoga, was immersed in the culture, and early on decided that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to be a winemaker. Now he came to North Carolina to be a chemist for another business. But when we saw the wine industry in North Carolina really just getting started, that was the perfect opportunity to create this and give him the opportunity to do his passion. I was in the corporate world at the time, but was ready for a change and had many other passions myself. And it was just a perfect opportunity for us to then start this business and follow our passions. And that's why I relate so much to the fit of the fiddle tea. And what that said is, you really do need to do what you love. And being a small business owner was not necessarily one of my goals in life as an entrepreneur, but community, music, gardening. I've been an avid gardener all my life. I've been a musician all my life. I love photography. I love art. I love community. So all of those things, this is what I could bring to the table. Robert could certainly make great wine, but all of the other things, the hospitality aspect of the business is what was true to my heart, as well as just being a catalyst to bring people together, being able to have a venue for live music, being able to have a venue where people can come and celebrate their milestones. And what a privilege it is for us to be able to be a part of that, to be able to help people make that happen. And that's truly the heart of the winery. And, you know, there's a lot of things besides, again, just the mechanical, organic, chemical aspect of wine. Again, I talk about the art of the blending of the wines and to come up with all of these different flavor profiles. But I think one of the things that make our wine so delicious is the fact that in our barrel room, when that wine is sitting in those barrels, think about all of the love that comes into that room, all that positive energy, all the music, and how that influences the wine. Wood is a very dynamic thing. It responds to temperature and moisture. And while that wine is in there, it's a living, breathing thing. It's constantly changing. And I think it's responding to the vibrations in the room. It's responding to all that positive energy. So, how could your wine not taste delicious, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's one thing too, I don't think people realize when you have those wines that do come off the conveyor belts, and it's just to be able to put those numbers through to create a sometimes a cheaper wine, but also a less quality wine just to get it out there to the masses. And then what it really takes for a vineyard to create a product that is so full of love, and the flavor makes the difference. And we notice it with the tea because we can have the ingredients come in, you can mix them, put them to the side, and then you can have, once the label's gone on, the intention's been set in a package, and while we're mixing and packaging, we're doing the same as you're doing. So music is going, good conversation. We've locked into the intention that's on the package, and that's all going into the package. And those two teas are not the same teas. You can make them and they taste different. It's really amazing. Yeah. Wow. Now you touched into how you set up the space and the hospitality, and you do have people right where the wine is. So the music is filling up that space and the joy of everybody being entertained and together. Can you talk about some of the spaces on the winery that you've created?
So we have just under 12 acres of property, and about an acre and a half of that was designated as vineyard. So when you come onto the property, you do see vines, you do see grapevines growing. Some of it is not in production right now because vines do have a lifespan, especially in North Carolina. They don't live for 100 years like they do in California. So you have to replant. So we have sections of the vineyard that have not been replanted, some that have younger vines, and then we have about 5 rows of more mature vines. So there is some actual vineyard on the property. We have some natural areas, which are sort of woods and oak trees, and it's just a natural area. I actually keep my chickens on the property. And so I have a chicken coop and a run, and I do sell the eggs out of the tasting room. And most of the run is protected from wildlife, wild birds. So fortunately, my flock has not been impacted by bird flu. So we're still getting plenty of eggs. My chickens are very healthy, very fortunate, and it's more than what Robert and I can eat. So I do sell the eggs out of the tasting room. Uh, there's a good bit of the property has been landscaped to promote sort of landscaped rooms, if you will. We have a large open grassy field area right in front of the winery building, but that is protected by some trees and shrubberies that are parallel to the driveway. But that's a wonderful open space area for overflow of concerts, which are held in our amphitheater area. But that gives you an open area, which is great for families, especially if they're bringing children, that the children can have space to play and be a little more uninhibited in that area. We have we recycled our pallets and made what we call boho table, sort of like coffee tables for that area. So when people bring some chairs, then they can have a little table to use. So that's a wonderful open area. We're getting ready to have our annual Easter egg hunt. So we let the grass grow a little long in the springs to help us hide the eggs. The big first cutting of that space is after the Easter egg hunt.
That's very fun.
But that's a big open area as well for large areas. We could even put a tent up if we needed to host a large tented event. The amphitheater space that I mentioned was added about 10 years after we'd started the winery, because we found that we needed a little more formal space. The terracing enabled more chairs to be set up in front of a gazebo that's on the lower patio. That's right by the entrance when you come into the winery. And that works as our stage, so we can accommodate even large bands under that space. But it's a wonderful sloped area, again, like an amphitheater style. It's terraced, and it provides a great focal point, not only for concerts, but if someone wanted to have a wedding, it's perfect for that type of event. We have a covered, what we call a pavilion, which will seat 20 people. And it is accessed from a level area, so it is handicap accessible, but it also has stairs that go up. That's a wonderful space that's covered year round. We have fans or heaters, so we can accommodate folks outside year round in that area. We have what's called an upper garden, which is adjacent to the amphitheater and the pavilion area. We have picnic tables and an open, sort of an open air, it's not covered, gazebo, which is lit. So even at night, we have the bistro lighting in that area. It's not super bright, but it's a warm bistro lights. So it's beautiful and romantic in the evening. It's adjacent to our little work shed, but it's shielded. So, because it is a farm, it's an agricultural business. We have equipment and that kind of thing. So we built some fencing to hide some of our gardening equipment. And then, of course, there's the winery building, which has the tasting room and the barrel room. Uh, we're very small, we're not a very large winery. And while we think that the building, some people said it looks like because it has dormers, and it is a metal building, but it has very attractive dormers and arched windows, and it's sort of casual elegant, if you will. Our style is we're not pretentious people. We're very down to earth, but we wanted it to be also elegant enough for someone who wanted a sort of that feeling of an upscale venue, not so casual that it's a farm, but it's It's a little above a farm. That makes sense. But it's not a formal space in any way. So folks are immediately comfortable, especially because of the landscaping. I've focused a lot on flowering shrubs. I have a lot of perennials, so there's always something in bloom throughout the year. And even in the winter, you think about structure of of your garden and just design that even in the winter time, because there's a lot of curves um, in nature. Nature is very curvy. So when I designed the garden, I kept that in mind and I wanted everything to flow. There's not a lot of angles, there's a lot of movement and flow. And so it just naturally brings you in, invites you in, and asks you to come in and then explore and flow. And you're comfortable whether you're inside or outside.
That lovely. I'm hoping as people are listening to this and thinking about the places that they have visited where they haven't spent enough time, because a lot of people do a wine tour and then they'll go to three or four, but then it's all about quick get into the tasting room, have your taste of wine, and you're on to the next spot. But to really actually look at what is it that that winery wants you to know or experience, and then taking the time to walk on the grounds and be present with everything that's there. There's such a healing opportunity that happens um, by being more than just interested in just that final product. It's
And a lot of times folks will ask me, what is this plant? What is this flower? What is this? How do you grow this? And I love talking about gardening. That's again one of my passions. So I am always ready to give folks advice about growing things, or I can share cuttings and say, well, come and help me, help me in the garden. I always need help. And folks do. They'll come and we'll share plants and share knowledge. And that's what is so satisfying for me, is the wine. They may have an interest in wine and why they're visiting, or if we're doing an event and they're interested in the music, they may come for the music, but then they find that, oh, and well, your wine is delicious too. Or, well, I didn't know I could come and help do this. So it's just opened up my world, and it's just such a great opportunity to bring different people together. I can't tell you how many people have met their future spouse, or made those connections to someone else. They've met somebody on the bottling line and found out that they have so much in common, or there are things that enrich each other from their differences that expands each other's lives. So having that opportunity to bring people together is really what community is all about, is making those connections and bringing people from all different areas, all different. We're sort of like Switzerland. We leave politics at the door, leave your ego at the door. When you come in, just, everyone is welcomed, and here's an opportunity for you to meet somebody new and learn something new, and overall have just walk away with this great sense of happiness, and like I just found my new happy place.
Let's move our conversation into the music, and then we'll move ourselves towards Marathon Jam. Can you talk about some of the shows that you do host, and what people find when they participate in some of the concerts you have?
So we do concerts year round. In the winter or shoulder seasons, when the weather, may not be good enough to do a concert outside, we're holding them in our barrel room. And that room again is, for those of you that are watching this video, you'll see I have an image of the barrel room with a music event going on behind me. Um, the room not only functions as an area for storing the wine and when we're doing wine work, but when we're not doing the wine work and bottling, the room is utilized for either, folks can rent it for a private party, or we are having events in that room. And in the winter, the shoulder seasons, the concerts are held in the barrel room. And in the summer, they're held outdoors in that amphitheater area, or terrace garden area, and the band plays under the gazebo. We also host jams. So I host every second Tuesday of the month. It's a bluegrass jam. I host what's called Fiddle Tunes Frenzy, which is a group of musicians that are interested in learning fiddle tunes. We have a very knowledgeable, experienced, his whole life he's been involved in music, and he teaches fiddle tunes. So we have a member of our music community come in and lead that session, and it's focused on just playing the fiddle tunes. Whereas the other bluegrass jam, for example, you're playing instrumentals as well as singing. And then in the shoulder months, colder season months, or not in the middle of the summer, but the other months, I host what's called Soup and Sing. And we started doing that. It's right after we opened the winery. A girlfriend of mine would do that in her home. And she said, Natalie, let me give you this great idea for this music event. And we started doing it at the winery, and it's been a hit ever since. But it's more than just playing music. It's an opportunity for people who don't play music that listen, that are, listeners are wonderful, that appreciate music, to come and listen to local musicians from the community play music. But we started off with a dinner. So it's a potluck dinner. Everyone brings food to share, and we have our meal together. And then once we're finished with the meal, then we'll break down some of the tables, and that's when the musicians play. And of course, the folks that are listening, they stay and enjoy the wine and enjoy the music. And we do that, like October through about April, and then we start again, in October. We kind of take the summer months off. That's a time when a lot of the musicians are traveling to festivals or people on vacation. So we find that the summer months are best for our Friday Flavors concert, which is the concerts that we do outdoors. That runs the 1st of June through the end of September. That's every Friday night. We're bringing in a local food truck, so you don't have to worry about cooking dinner. You can just come and get some food and listen to great music. And that's every Friday night. And we have different kinds of music, different styles. So everything from traditional, like it might be a Celtic band or a bluegrass band or folk, to rock, to jazz, all different styles of music. Energy levels are everything from very calming and listening, like when we're doing the barrel room concerts, they truly are listening room experience. So it's not like at a bar when people are talking and kind of it's just background music. When we do the barrel room concerts, it really is a listening room experience. We've had some top musicians, international touring musicians, cream of the crop, that have graced our stage. Um, it's just amazing that we've been able to bring the talent that we've brought over the years, and our listeners keep coming because they know when they come to the winery, they're going to hear a high quality music and different kinds of music. So,
My goodness. And people think about being an entrepreneur and being interested in trying, to build up some kind of product. You never imagine how encompassing that can be. And then just look at all the ways that you've been able to really build community right from nature all the way through to the arts, and how it all interconnects. And it provides a space for people. And so many people don't have, if they live in the city and they're in apartment buildings and they don't get to touch the ground, but you've got this incredible space where they can come and experience so much at once. It's
well,
it's beautiful.
what I would love, we're going to talk about the event that we're doing in April, but you had mentioned earlier that we do host other events besides just the music. And for the last several years in the winter months, I started a wine and wellness series and provided local wellness coaches to come in and, you know, just offer lectures or participatory events for folks outside of just the music. We've had a yoga instructor come in and do a yoga series, a healing touch, certified healing touch practitioner come in and educate folks about healing touch and was able to do hands-on. I also had a functional medicine practitioner come in and talk about functional medicine, something that's different than your typical Western, medicine. And so for her to be able to offer that in a series, it was so educational for everyone. And there was no charge. All of these were free events.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm so thrilled that what we're doing in April just ties in with that and what you do. So um, this is just perfect, and I'm going to learn so much from our event in April.
And we have the opportunity with Marathon Jam that Marathon Jam has already been established for a long time, playing music, bringing people together, helping people to heal through music, helping them to engage back into community and find a way to have a conversation that doesn't require words. You can just sit and be present with the music or play the music or sing. So it's a lovely way for people to come together. But we're kind of bringing what you did with the wine and wellness, bringing movement and music together and providing a little bit different, plus tea, which that's a whole other thing on top of that. So yeah, it's going to be quite the event. Do you want to describe a couple of the rooms that we're going to be in and how we've set up the event?
So the barrel room, I believe that you and Colin will be in the barrel room. Mm-hmm. Acoustically, that makes the best sense because I believe he will be performing, as well as some of the things you're going to be talking about, as well as being able to offer the teas throughout the day. We will use that room as sort of a central gathering place when we first all arrive to get oriented to the day, as well as the program content that you and Colin will be covering will be in the barrel room. We've not decided where our two other content presenters will be. I think we'll decide that as we get a little bit closer to the date. But the area that I had described, the pavilion, which is a covered space, Lyn Koonce may be in that area. And then our dance instructor will be either in the upper garden or in that long area, the open lawn area, which will provide large space for big movements. And our number of participants is growing. If we did reach the number that is our goal, which is around 60, we could easily accommodate everyone in that large grassy area. If we all at some point wanted to go into that area, it's large enough to accommodate everyone.
So as people are listening, if you live in North Carolina and you have an interest in wellness, you have an interest in music for well-being, and you think that this might be something that you would be able to learn and grow with, or to be able to find people that maybe do massage therapy, physiotherapy, osteopathy, chiropractic, trying to think of all, music therapy. Anybody that's in that wellness industry that has anything to do with music and movement, we want them there for Marathon Jam. And we want to be able to interact in a way that we're actually all learning from each other. And it's so exciting because we have across several podcasts, I was able to interview Lyn plus Sarah Arnett, who's doing the dance portion. They have amazing backgrounds in the kinds of work they've already done for healing, as well as Liz is in the music industry, and Sarah comes with a psychotherapy background, um, but started with the love of dance. And so she's bringing that whole embodiment piece of movement. And I've just, as you were describing the curves and the way that the landscape is all set up, the way you were really thinking about how people could experience nature, that's going to be so beautiful for what Sarah's bringing to the table for people to experience. And when Colin and I go to share what we're bringing, yes, we're bringing the tea. So we're setting intentions. I have a specific formula that I work with to make sure that we are always moving energetically in flow. And so we don't have to work hard at trying to do something. We know where we want to go. We set our compass, and then we can engage in different activities. So we'll be showing people about where stress is sitting in the body, how it's affecting posture. And then Colin will be playing music. And as we're discovering these pieces, we're going to be able to just move them, move that tightness out of the jaw, move it out of the lower back, and just show people how easy it is to move through these things and then have it change and make a change. So for some people where it's been hard to change, we hope we're inspiring that. So it's exciting to know we'll be in the barrel room. I'm thrilled to know my tea is going to be meeting your wine, and what the possibilities are with that. And I know you just received the package of tea, so you can play with some different blend combinations. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen. Have you got any ideas since you opened that package?
No, I went through it with Robert, and we need to take it out to the winery and start exploring.
Oh, I look forward to it. I look forward to it. As people are listening and you're thinking about it, Marathon Jam, first of all, please take a look at their website and check out what they've been doing and the fundraising that they do. Maybe there's something in there that you want to participate in as part of the fundraising piece. Maybe you want to become a part of Marathon Jam, and maybe you want to become a part of our event on April the 12th. And we do have seats still available so that people can come and enjoy. And also, we're just so thrilled to be able to bring together so many wonderful people. And I felt the warmth and the heart, coming from Cape Breton, and we're doing everything online. There's been such a lot of connection that we've had with this event, which doesn't happen most of the times organizing events. And the other piece is Colin, who comes from Scotland, who's been living in Australia for the last few months, it will be coming in. And him and I have been working globally, doing all kinds of events. So we'll be able to bring that in. And then we have all the people in your area. So there's just such a international way that we're able to bring everyone together. Is there anything else you want to add that we might have missed?
I think for the listeners or folks that are watching this video, we're hoping that this will not be a one and done event. We're hoping that this is just the beginning, and that we will continue to offer a program, and the program will grow to support not only healers in our community, folks that either are currently active in a program, either as their profession or as something that they just want to do to contribute to the community. I'm hoping that there'll be people that see this as an opportunity to sort of see if this is really truly what they want to do, that they'll be able to make connections and then pursue their heart in a very meaningful thing that I think you can't get when you're working day to day to pay the bills, and and there's just nothing like volunteering, or if you're thinking about doing this as a profession, this is just a wonderful opportunity to make a lot of connections with people that are making our world better and making our world happier and healthier. And so if if you are unable to participate, you've heard about this, but you have a conflict, we are hoping to do this again. So hopefully this will become an event that folks can attend year after year and grow.
Beautiful. Thank you for saying that. And I just wanted to bring back to the forefront too that we're coming together with music and movement to support those people who are suffering with PTSD, mental health, first responders who take care of us at the most awkward and horrific times, and also for veterans who have seen more than they needed to see. And this is an opportunity for all of us to really come together and take the conversation out and just be present, to just live, just be present with nature, enjoy the music, enjoy the camaraderie, the connections, and then know that the formula that I was talking about, the bioenergetic wellness formula, is embedded in the whole works. So right from the moment you set your foot on the land, you know that you're going to be taken care of and nurtured all the way through to when you exit at the end of the day. So Natalie, thank you so much for shining a light on the winery. I'm so excited to come there and be a part of it and to see it for real, besides the pictures. And I really look forward to what you've cultivated to make this such a special place for Marathon Jam.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing you too.
For those that are listening, take this opportunity now to, if you've been sipping on some tea or had something else, just to take a moment and be mindful and present. And then think about those two intentions we read at the beginning, and think about what you want out of your day, the quality of living that you want to have as you're going through the activities you're doing. And we wish you well, because you've already set yourself up just by listening and being here, and set yourself on that healing journey. Take care.
Thank you, Michelle.
Cheers.